Welcome to toy-polloi, Pocket Money Memories.
Hello and welcome to episode 9 of Pocket Money Memories here on toy-polloi. Now, this is a YouTuber special because I've been in touch with quite a few YouTubers. I've been in touch with some bigger channels and I've been in touch with some smaller channels, and they've all very kindly sent in their stories of saving up their pocket money to buy that one special toy that they always wanted. And there are some lovely stories that have been sent in. So let's sit back and check them all out.
I go by the name CrafsMan instead of Crafty. That is my YouTube name. I made a video one time talking about my favorite things, and one of the things that I focused on was action figures. And I mentioned in that video that a lot of these figures came from my children, and I think that gave the impression to people that that I'm a grandpa, must be. But the truth is, I was born in the very tippy top of the 1980s. And my family did not have a lot of money growing up. I could not get toys. You know, if we was up in Kmart or TG&Y or somewhere like that, and I would say, Mama, can I go to the toys? Even if she just said, yes, we can go to the toy section. That right there was enough. Anyway, me and my brother started to save up aluminum cans, and we would crush cans, put them in big garbage bags, and take that to the recycler. So we hit the big time with a $5 bill we each one of us had, and went to TG&Y. If I had to pick out one action figure that sticks out as far as something that I bought with my own pocket money, it would have to be the Micronaut Time Traveler. And this is not the actual one right there. I have to admit, the one that I bought, did not survive my childhood, I guess, But I know that with my $5 bill, I was able to get this and give me some gum, some candy. And I was very surprised at how much the value of these little figures has increased over the years, because I know when I got it, it wasn't no more than a few dollars, But I always just so much liked the articulation in this figure. And although I'm a big fan of 5-point articulated figures, something about that Micronaut when I was a kid was just the best action figure that you can get. I don't really know. My wife and I got married, we started to have children, and I just made a decision. I said, baby, anytime our kids have a birthday, I want to buy them the toys that I did not have or could not get, because I just think there ain't never been any toys to this day that matches just the coolnicity of action figures from the 1980s. The 80s was the best time for toys, period. That's just my opinion, but yeah, that's the Micronaut right there.
This particular childhood memory focuses on one of my absolute favorite childhood toy lines, Kenner's The Real Ghostbusters. And it's important to know for this story that this takes place sometime in between 95 and 96. Now that being said, I wasn't old enough to remember these toys ever being sold in stores. The only way for me to get these was through yard sales or inheriting them from older kids in the neighborhood. So one of the toys I was lucky enough to acquire as a kid was this guy, the Pull Speed Ahead Ghost. It's the one where you tear the ripcord out of him, and he's got this wheel on the bottom, so he ends up going like flying across the floor. I remember I'd be ripping this thing across the kitchen at like top speed, because I guess it's supposed to like cushion itself with its tongue, but it was still like dinging stuff up. So my mom eventually made this an outside toy, which that didn't really stop my buddy and I. We ended up taking this thing outside with us, and we started shooting it downhill in the street. And to make it more interesting, we eventually pulled out a skateboard and sat on it, and we tried to basically drag race this thing down the hill. But my buddy lost his grip on this ghost ripcord, and the whole thing got caught under the skateboard. It ruined, just shredded. I remember sometime down the road, my mom took me to the VF Outlets in Reading, Pennsylvania, and this place had a KB Toy Liquidators in it. Okay, so we walk into the store, and no joke, I see 2 pegs full of Kenner's Real Ghostbusters. I'm talking legitimate, the real Ghostbusters, like on pegs in a store. The only figures that they had were the Brain Blaster Ghost and, of course, as luck would have it, the Pull Speed Ahead Ghost. I remember bringing it up to my mom and begging her to pick this up for me. I remember her digging her heels in for this one. She was all just like, you still have this toy. Like, why are you buying another one? And I was like, no, Mom, like this thing's fine. I need this plastic thing though. I need this string. And she's like, I'm not paying $8 or whatever it was for a string. I was just like, no, Mom, you don't understand. She said, okay, well, if that's something that you really want, then you're gonna have to use your own money for it. So that was actually like the first time I remember actually like investing in something.
My pocket money memory is the first time I had my own money to go to the toy store and buy toys, but how I got the money is pretty weird and pretty different. My father took me to the horses, gave me $2 and said, pick a horse. I remember I picked Danger Nort and came up with $26. That's a lot of cash for back then. I mean, let's think about it. The average G.I. Joe was what, $2? That's like over a dozen G.I. Joes. But I didn't buy a dozen G.I. Joes. I bought one awesome G.I. Joe vehicle. Still to this day, my favorite, the Hiss. Look at this thing. It's destruction on wheels. The cannon, the armor. It almost looks like a Star Wars vehicle for the army. I mean, this thing caused so much havoc in the backyard. It killed more G.I. Joes than cherry bombs, magnifying glasses, and my feet and my boots stomping down. Listen, this thing is just amazing. And I bought it for $5.99, and it got me into all sorts of trouble in school. I used to bring it to school. I used to have it taken from me because I was distracted by it. I mean, I even at one point, I even stole the Hiss driver from another kid, but I did give it back so I could have two. That's how much I loved this driver and this vehicle. But I mean, that pocket memory, it really resonates in my head because it was the first time I was able to buy whatever I wanted. And as you can see, I haven't stopped. I just do this all the time, as you know, most of us do. So I hope you enjoyed my pocket money memory. I'm Mysterion, and it is the Hiss Tank, and I will see you in my favorite place, the toy store, and of course, the future.
My pocket money memories revolve around video games, and I'm not talking about the super cool video game consoles like the Nintendo NES or the Sega Mega Drive or anything like that. I'm talking about good old British micros. I had an Amstrad CPC 464, my friends had Spectrums or Commodore 64s. Okay, not British, I know, but these were the machines that we had on our estate. So as soon as I got a pocket full of pocket money in my shorts, I would jump on my Rally Burner BMX bike and I would do a circuit around town, and it would take me to the pharmacists, the newsagents, the stationers, and the independent video rental shop. Why? Because that is where randomly you would buy video games back then. You wouldn't go to a video game store, a specialist store. All of these shops would have a rotating display, and on the pegs would be hung video games like these, cassette tapes, because disc-based games were really quite expensive back then in the UK, so we bought our games on cassettes. And this is what they look like, and I'm lucky enough to have bought a whole bunch here, a whole table full of those old things. Still, some of them, the peg holes haven't even been pushed through, so these are mint. And my memories of buying games were that you never quite knew what you were going to get. They would cost £1.99 or £2.99, so it wasn't a lot of money compared to the cartridge-based systems. And often on the back, this one is a prime example, because often you would get screenshots on the back, so you would get an idea of what you were buying. But other times you would get absolutely nothing. And I can't tell you the number of times that I bought a video game thinking, this is going to be the most amazing adventure that I've ever been on. And I get home and I load it. It would take 20 minutes to load because it's a very slow cassette tape. And then it would be a text adventure. And I would have no idea that this was going to be a completely text-based game. No graphics whatsoever. Some people like that. I didn't. So then I had to wait for the next month for my next round of pocket money so I could buy some more video games. That's my pocket money memory for you today.
By the time I'd reached my early 20s, I'd sold off all of my childhood toys because I wanted the money for other hobbies. I'd got into computers, remote control cars and music and stuff like that. So selling the toys was a great way of getting some funds to spend on those. And it was only until one weekend when Mrs. Toy-polloi and I were invited to a friend's house, and on the Sunday morning we went to a car boot sale, and as we were sort of rummaging around the car boot sale, I saw on a stall a toy that I'd never been able to get as a child. It was just too expensive. I remember a friend of mine having it, but I was never lucky enough to have it. It was on this stall, and I was chatting to the stall holder, and he said he only wanted £5 for it. So I thought, well, £5, I'm going to get it, because I just remembered wanting it so badly as a kid. So I paid £5 and I got this. It was an ATST from Star Wars Return of the Jedi. I just remembered absolutely sort of desperately wanted to get it, looking in the Argos catalogue every year, seeing if it was still there, seeing how much money it was. I just couldn't afford it. So as an adult, I now have managed to get myself this ATST, and it was a joy to have. It was missing pieces and it wasn't sort of perfect, but it was mine. So £5 well spent. And at that same car boot, I also stumbled across this, a Biker Scout, another figure that I absolutely loved as a kid, and this one cost me all of 5p at that car boot sale. But these two items sort of sparked something inside me and started my love of toys again. So from about 2021 onwards, I was hooked, and I spent a lot of time hunting around toy fairs, hunting around flea markets, car boots and that, buying up toys that I never had as a child and things that I'd always wanted, and also just completing collections that I sort of half done as a kid. And that is what sort of is behind me now, and that is why toy-polloi keeps on going, because it's my love of toys that sort of was rekindled by finding these two items at a car boot sale.
When I was a kid, I used to go to Blackpool quite a lot with my family. I'm from Bristol, so we're not really northern, but it was always a big treat to go way up to Blackpool, and we used to always go in November, October time. And I used to always go with my nan, and she would always spend loads of money on us, and we would save up all our pennies to go along, and she would save her money for us, and she would buy us a little treat. Now, we went into a really cool vintage toy shop, which I hope is still there. I'm not sure if it is. It was down a back alley sort of place, and it was a really cool vintage toy shop. I remember it must have been 1996, 97, and the shop was just filled with toys. And one of the things that me and my brother had to do, we had to pick out one toy each. And so, because obviously we don't want to get anything too expensive or too big, what we did get were these Action Fleet Rancor. Now, he is really impressive for a figure. It's very similar to the vintage line Rancor. His arm moves up and down, which opens his mouth. What's impressive is when you swallow the figure in there, he can be pooped out, shall we say, at the back. So my brother had this one, which is always cool, and my favourite one, my favourite toys ever. What I liked about this is when you click the back bit falls down, and there should be a hand in carbonite, which I've still got somewhere, but it's currently AWOL. I'm still surprised after all these years I still have this. I remember absolutely loving this when I bought this. And what we're so lucky is when we bought it, the gentleman who was owning the shop said to us, as we were kids, we were quite young then, he gave us a free bag. This figure, which as a kid I recognised it as being some kind of form of German soldier, and until like years later did I realise it was actually part of the Action Man line. So these toys, they always remind me of going to Blackpool with my family. They always remind me of school days, being able to take a toy in at the end of the year. I'd always take an Action Fleet because it was such a easy, accessible toy, really.
I could only think of one time that I actually saved up for a toy, because admittedly I was a little bit spoiled, so I would get most of the toys that I wanted. But I do remember saving up for one particular toy. Toys, I guess. And that was mini Boglins. Absolutely love Boglins, my favourite toy of all time, whether it's the larger Boglins, the puppet ones, or the mini ones like this. And I remember I had a load of these already because I wanted to collect all the different tribes, because they came in different tribes, and I wanted to collect them. And I noticed they had this big, because I used to get these quite a bit, which were the mini Boglin, like little packs that just came in like one Boglin in each pack. I used to get those quite a lot. But then I saw this, and it had like loads of them. I must have been, 6 years old, around 5 or 6 or something. And my mum had already bought me loads of Boglins before. She might have bought these already, but she must have, because I've got a feeling, because she used to just give me big bundles of them. So I've got a feeling she used to get these and open them, and then pop them in a little pop thing for me to give me as a little present after school and stuff. Which was quite nice. So I already did have a load of Boglins, but I didn't have all the different things. And I noticed on the front of this it said 10 mini Boglins, including 2 chiefs, and the chiefs were really cool. And obviously I needed a chief to go with each tribe. So I told my mum about these. I saw them on the shop shelf, and I was like, I need some more Boglins. And she said I had enough Boglins. And he said if I wanted some more Boglins, I had to save up and buy another box of these. So I did. Well, I tried. Every time I got money, I wasn't very good with it. I'm not very good now. And what I'd do, as soon as I got the money, I'd go out and buy Beano or Dandy comic. I'd get some sweets. I'd get a lucky bag. Do you remember lucky bags? I'd get a lucky bag, and then after I bought all those, I'd remember that I was saving up for Boglins. So it took, I don't know how much this was. I cannot remember. Around £5, I think. Could be under, could be a little bit more. I cannot remember. But I just remember it took about 2 months to save, because I kept spending the money and then remembering I was saving up for mini Boglins. But eventually I did save up, and I got myself a box of mini Boglins. And as I bought them, my mum actually bought me a second box to go with it as well, because she was proud of me for saving up finally. So that was really nice of her.
When I was a kid, originally my pocket money was only 30 pence a week. I think I eventually got an upgrade to 50 pence a week. So for me, one of my favourite pocket money toys that I could actually spend pocket money on was Action Jacks, and they used to sell them in the shop down the road, which was called Shopwell in the village I lived in, and they came in a little pack about the size of a pack of cards, and they all came to pieces, which was rather good because you can make them with different arms and legs and swap all the pieces round, and lots of crude accessories for different things like a diver and a medic and other things I seem to remember. And I don't have any of those left anymore, unfortunately, because we're talking about 20 or 30 years ago. But I did find one of my childhood Action Man toys. Unfortunately, we need one of Dave's O-ring fixes because the head has fallen off. But there we go. I'm not sure what he's wearing, actually. It seems to be something, I think it's an aftermarket costume. I don't think it's an actual proper Palitoy one. And this was the eagle-eyed Action Man, which was originally the spaceman who had the latex suit on. He's got blue pants, the eagle eyes, and he's got gripping rubber hands. So I'm not sure what this costume is. It seems to have this kind of rubberized upper piece, and he's got some sort of backpack that's got a ladder that folds out. I've also got a box of other random stuff. Some of it's original Action Man and some of it's not, plus a couple of Star Wars things and some bits and pieces. I also have a few Star Wars figures knocking about, but those of course were not bought in the actual shops when they came out because they were far too expensive in those days, so a lot of them were bought with actual pocket money a few years later on car boot sales and jumble sales. The other thing I spent actual pocket money on was of course sticker sets, and you got these books, and a lot of people had football stickers, but I wasn't really into football, so I wasn't really interested in collecting stickers of all of the UK football teams with the players' faces on, so I collected Back to the Future stickers. Of course this was between 1985 and 1990 or somewhere around there, when those films had come out, so we had Back to the Future stickers. I'm pretty sure there were some others for Ghostbusters and pretty much any other film franchise.
Well, that's it for episode 9 of Pocket Money Memories. I hope you've enjoyed all the stories that everyone sent in. It's always fascinating to me to see sort of everyone's different memories of what they really wanted to have in their collection as a child, because everyone's sort of memories are so wildly different. If you'd like to take part in the next episode of Pocket Money Memories, then drop me a line. And if you've enjoyed this video, then make sure to subscribe and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video. And thanks for watching. I'd just like to spend a couple of moments remembering my father, who sadly passed away at the beginning of 2020. He was a great influence on me, and all of my life he's sort of taught me how to take things apart and fix them. And we spent years growing up making model kits and sort of building remote control cars. And I think his love and inquisitive nature of sort of how things worked and taking them apart, any item that came into the house, he would take it apart at some point and try and work out how to improve it. And I think that has sort of clearly rubbed off on me and what I do here at toy-polloi, and I'm going to greatly miss him, because even on projects that I've worked on over the last few years, if I got stuck on some wiring or something like that, or how to add lights to something, I'd always give him a call, and he would have some sort of great bit of knowledge that he'd share with me about what I could do to improve it. And he was always fascinated by the way I sort of went about fixing toys. So I am going to miss him terribly. He was an absolutely wonderful guy, and I just want this as a sort of a little memory of him, and hopefully he will enjoy what I continue doing here, fixing and mending toys.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.